Cool. What's up, you guys? Your girl's back doing another breakdown of my At a Total Loss podcast episode. This one is with my sister, who was and still is one of my biggest support people. So if you haven't watched before, this is me just breaking down what we talk about in the episode. So if you haven't listened to the episode, take a look, take a listen. This one, unfortunately, does not have video for technical problems that we had, but it is on the previous video right here on my YouTube page. And if you haven't listened to it, totally fine. I'm still going to go over some stuff too that might be helpful, a little bit shorter than the actual podcast episode itself. Now, let me preface, I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. I'm not even a certified counselor or a grief expert or a therapist or whatever, maybe someday. I'm just a lost mom who has been doing this for a little while now. I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of therapy myself. I've had a ton of conversations. This is just my perspective. This is just my experiences. My hope in doing any of this was just so that you can listen and be like, shit, that makes sense. Okay, I'm not alone. And then you just feel better, right? When you know you're not alone. So I decided to interview my sister because, and if you hear something in the background, it's my foster puppy. He follows me everywhere and he makes weird noises and he's really cute. So he gets away with it. But I decided to have my sister on because I get a lot of questions from support people on how to better support the lost parent that they're close with. And I thought it was interesting, her perspective on the whole thing, how she did it. And so this is why I featured her in the episode so she could just give her kind of ways and methodologies and what she was thinking on how she handled it. And truthfully, I think she did a good job in handling it and it worked for us. So maybe it could work for someone else. So breaking it all down, just some background on my sister and I. I am the oldest of three, two girls and our brother, Joey. He just makes me laugh. He's hilarious. I am 19 months older than my sister. We grew up together. So all my memories are with her. We took dance classes together. We swam together. We would fish in our backyard together. We would ride bikes together. We went to birthday parties together. We had kind of the same friends growing up, and then even went to the same high school, same college. We danced together on the dance team in college. I went on to be a Miami Heat dancer. She was also a Miami Heat dancer. We then kind of split our ways from there. But, we're in the same sorority in college. We lived in the same house. We were just very close, but we were still different, but we were close. She went into sports broadcasting and eventually just ended up on TV and things like that. And I went into sports as well, but more of an MC. I stayed a dancer for a little bit longer. I even opened up my own facility. I went to LA for a while as a professional dancer, things like that. But we've always remained close is the point. And now we both live in Atlanta and we're in Brookhaven, and she's in Buckhead, but we're about a mile away from each other, like 4 minutes. She has 3 kids who I love and adore so much. She has a boy and 2 girls. Their ages are 6, 5, and 3 at the time of this recording. I was present for every single pregnancy and babysat the babies, and I still do. I love them. I'm Aunt Catherine. We're very close. They were not high-risk pregnancies. They were what you want to call normal pregnancies. No issues. She's had no losses. I think she carried to 40 and 41 weeks with them, and she was at the same OB office, so the same doctors and midwives that I went to. And as you know, if you've listened to me before, my OB office failed me in a number of ways in monitoring me and my pregnancy with Brody, which is pretty wild because when I repeat it back to her, there were a lot of things similar, but her babies didn't die. So, I've managed to not have animosity. I've managed to not be always angry. But as you know, as a lost parent, you don't wish this on anyone. And I literally had this conversation earlier on my IG with somebody. You don't wish this on anyone, but you still get a little mad when someone has all these living kids, no issues, no pain, no trauma, and you're sitting here on all your feelings. I know. And we don't want to feel that way. I don't want to feel this way, but we can't help it. We're human beings and we've been through some shit. So that's the backstory with my sister. We've always had a good relationship, not really not competitive at all. No fighting over boys or, I mean, she's been with her husband for like 50 years. And we just get along, like, and that's how it is. So when this happened, she knew I was worried that weekend, like the day before I went into the doctor because I was having reduced fetal movement. I was told by apps and friends and family that he was just losing like space, he was getting too big. He was running out of room and it was almost time. And I was concerned that maybe I had leaked amniotic fluid because I had been sick and I was coughing a lot. And every single time I coughed, I leaked, which ended up being pee, not amniotic fluid. But she, was very aware that I was nervous. So when I went into the doctor on Monday, she was like, oh shit. So she was on standby. My mom was in town because we had our co-ed baby shower the Saturday before. So Monday, I went in with reduced fetal movement and went to the doctor and was like, I'm not feeling him. And this is when they told me that he had no heartbeat. On the way home, once I got home, I told my sister to come over with my mom. And they pretty much, I'm blacked out, you guys. As you know, you go into a state of crazy shock. I felt like I was floating. I felt like I don't even remember really crying. Like, I guess I just walked out of the doctor's office and got into the car. I don't know what I expected, like an airlift to my house, but how do we do that? It's like the craziest thing to me. And she came over with my mom and she found out then, like literally maybe an hour later. So I had to wait for a hospital bed, which is something I still have not processed yet. I had to wait over 8 hours for a hospital bed because they didn't have any. I don't freaking know why. They're blaming a lot of shit on COVID. I don't even know. Maybe they were understaffed. I don't care. Anyway, my mom and her started springing to action and like packing my hospital bag with God knows what, because what do you pack for like the most freaking horrible thing you're about to do? I don't know. Long story longer. She was there. She actually got into the room and saw me give birth to him. She met him. So my point is that she was around for a lot of this. And that's neither here nor there, actually, because like, even if your support person was not there front row and center, this is still valuable information for them, because we get tired of trying to defend ourselves and explain how we feel. They are hearing it. They're trying to understand, but they just don't get it. And so this is supposed to, be helpful for people who want to hear the perspective of a lost person's support person. So that's the backstory. I will tell you out the gate, Kristina would come over every day. She would stop by every day. My mom had was staying in our guest room because Michael was still working. I was recovering physically. I was still not in very good shape. I had extremely high blood pressure after Brody was born. I was banged up. I had a few blood transfusions. I was just not okay. They pumped me with so many meds. I was like, me. So my mom stayed at the house and my sister would come over every day and I would just word vomit, trying to make sense of what happened. Just trying to make sense of what happened just over and over and over again. And she took it and my mom took it and they listened. And what was good about that was that she could replay facts to me when I started to spiral and forget what actually happened. She could replay them like, no, you were right. Like you did this. Like, so don't feel that. And so I was like, oh, okay. So like, and then not to mention the more and more and more I talk, I'm not even taking notes. Why do I have that? The more and more and more I talked about it, the easier it was to leave my mouth, if that makes any sense. Like at first you're just saying these words and you're like, I can't believe I'm saying these words. My son died. Oh my God. And the more I said it, it wasn't like I was accepting it. It was just like I was becoming a little bit less sensitive to the information. So that was extremely helpful. And she just took it. She did not offer like weird platitudes or condolences. It was like, this sucks. And she just let me talk. And I think that was really important. She didn't try to fix me, which I know from talking to a lot of support people and a lot of lost parents, The people closest to you can't stand to see you sad and see you in this much pain, and all they want to do is fix it. The best thing for them to realize is you cannot be fixed. You need to be heard. You need to be acknowledged. And so does your baby. It's very simple as that. A nod, this is shitty, and I'm here to help you. That's it. There was a minute I just didn't want to be around anybody with living children. I didn't want to, as much as I loved her and her kids, there was like maybe a couple of days where I was like, I just can't. Because not only are you as the lost mom, like, holy shit, my baby's dead. And Brody is my first, and sounds like a cow. Brody is my first and only, so I have no living children. So not only am I like, holy shit, my baby died, I don't know why, I'm also thinking, will I ever have a living one? Like, so that's like still what your brain's doing. So not wanting to be around people with living children is 100% normal, 100% normal. Like, remember Michael was like, I got to get out of the house. Let's go to our favorite spot. It's an outdoor, really cute, sports kind of place with really great food and drinks and live music. And we went, and there were children everywhere. Babies, strollers, toddlers. I was like, this was not great. And my skin was burning. My hair was on end. I was like having hot flash meltdowns of like all these kids. And it was like a trigger. So you not wanting to be around living kids and people with living kids, totally normal and understandable. And she kind of got that. She got that. I think I gotta be honest, I'm not entirely sure if I like spelled it out to her, like, I don't want to be around your kids, but I think she kind of got it. I think I was like, I want to be alone. And she probably got it. I don't know. Up to you if you want to like spell it out. But, I try really hard not to be a jerk. This is how we feel, and we got to express it. Otherwise, people aren't going to know. And it's just perpetual hurting us when people don't mean to, if we don't tell them, Anyway, so on that note, support people need guidance. And that's kind of what I'm getting at here. So when I told Kristina that Brody had died, she remembered that her good friend had a best friend that also had a baby die full term and was stillborn. So she immediately went to her. Her name is Heather. And you probably heard this before. Heather has her own podcast episode as well. Heather was a huge part of how Kristina was getting information on what to tell me to do. And I'm not sure this would have been the same situation if Kristina had not had that direction. So that to me is important, that the support person has direction. So she had Heather. And so now I'm hoping she could be y'all's, if you don't already have it. One of the things that Heather immediately said was embrace the death and embrace the baby, versus denying this happened and not accepting his existence. I never truly, like, if you saying that to me now is like, duh, but then y'all, I don't know about you, but it felt to me like this was not happening. This was in the parallel universe, out of body. I was going to wake up. Then on the flip, I was like, this is not my baby. He's dead. He's gone. This body, this isn't. It was like the craziest brain roller coaster. Kristina was more like, this is happening. What do we need to do to get through this? So we went into go mode. I'm like, go get his Wolfie, go get his onesie. I want him dressed in and eventually cremated in. Get his swaddle that I love. Like, let's go. Like, let's act like he's coming home with us. So they raced home, because I live like right around the corner, and came back to the hospital with all the stuff, because I didn't think to pack that stuff when I was packing to go give birth to my non-living baby. Heather helped in that. So I don't know how that would have gone. And honestly, if you did it a different way, and this is a little late to the party, then I'm so sorry, but you did what you felt was right. You did what you thought you should do. And that's all that matters. And we can't go back. And I hope I'm not coaching anybody right now who's about to go in and give birth to a stillborn or a dead baby, because first of all, me doing this, sorry, you have to look at this, but it's kind of like, this is for you guys to know that this is what I went through. And so if you did too, you're not alone in that. That's all I'm really saying. This isn't like a coaching situation. Anyway, so, you know, I had some horrific things happen to me in the hospital. So while I'm still hyper focused on Brody's death, I then pretty much hemorrhaged. I lost a lot of blood. I had a few transfusions. They didn't know if I was going to make it. So Kristina immediately flipped her perspective from Brody's death to, oh my God, Catherine is not okay. So we have to remember that, like, especially us who had traumatic births, the support people, of course, love your baby and of course are rocked by your baby's death, but it's you that is their number one priority while your baby is yours. Like I was like, God, take me now, let's go. But well, if you've listened to me talk about this before, I want to obviously stay for my husband. And right before they put me under, you know, it was like, God, I'm ready. If you're ready to take me, Brody, I'll see you soon. And then I was like, no, wait, I saw Michael's face and was like, I got to stay. So my priority was like Brody's death. Our support people, we are their priority. So our health, how we're doing is theirs. So she shifted her mentality to go mode on what to do for me. She organized a meal train, which was great because I didn't know where my feet were. So I wasn't doing anything. So she did a meal train. Her and her husband coordinated a meal train. It was about 2 weeks long. We had so much food. It was a lot. But it was great because I think what happens is people want to help, but they don't know what to do. So giving people direction on how to help you is really important, you know, whether it's a Caring Bridge or a GoFundMe or donating somewhere or cooking or bringing food over or whatever it is, give people something to do. And that's super helpful. And if you don't want anybody to do anything, they're still going to do it. So just be specific, like no flowers, please. Great. Hey, and if you hate flowers, same, because flowers die. Anyway, she then was there to see people's reactions to my actions. So we had some mutual friends that kind of were doing things that were a little insensitive. I kind of called them out. A couple of them were super apologetic and like changed their ways. A couple others were like, no, she's selfish. But and so she got to see on the flip, people were talking to her about how they disagreed with how we were coping with the death of our son. And by we, I mean Michael and I mean me and Michael. One thing you guys are not going to get here is proper grammar and or perfection, because I don't care. So don't even. So I think she was seeing a lot and being the buffer between people's reactions to my actions and vice versa. She was also kind of a voice of reason too, like, hey, you know, you really can't say that to that person. I think you should really think about this for a second before you like take any action. And I appreciated that because I don't know if you guys are with me on this, but like right after loss, you are pissed. You are pissed at everybody. And anybody who makes a slight misstep, you're like, you're out. And one thing that I learned was not to do anything detrimental in the early days, weeks, months after loss, because you are going to move into another phase and you don't want to do anything that hurts relationships now. To be honest, maybe some people do deserve it. And maybe you have not even recovered in certain relationships. So it didn't matter if you told them to F off back then, but she was kind of like, hey, this is what so-and-so is saying. And so how do you want me to do this? So she was getting like a good idea of what was happening outside of us, because I wasn't really talking to anybody. And so just be prepared for that. If you're a support person, people are going to come to you because they don't want to go straight to us. So in order to not bother us, or because they're too scared, like There are members of my family who still have never addressed the death of my son, but boy, have they talked to my mother about it. You know what I mean? Like, they just still won't do it because it's super uncomfortable. So as a support person, you may be that one buffering the conversation and the communication. And I know it's not cool. I know you don't love it. I know that. And I know it's heavy, but that's something to take off of their shoulders, which I think is really, really helpful. Like, I didn't feel like telling my whole family to kiss my ass, but my sister did it for me. Oh God, I'll get into that. I'll get into that another time. I still have not done it. It's been a year. God. Oh, okay. So anyway, so she had to accept the fact that this just wasn't a bad moment in her sister, her best friend's life, that this was a life-altering situation that I will never be the same. Think about that for a second, though. Like, think about that. Like, switch it around. Like, some shit goes down with somebody that you love, and you have no control over it, and they are now forever altered. Their life is forever altered. Yours is now forever altered, and it's in no one's control. That's like such a tough thing to accept, y'all. Like, me, Catherine, pre-Brody, will never come back. Ugh. That's heavy. So she had to realize that and not try to force me to get back to normal, get back to my old self, because she was like, damn, that version's gone. That's a huge thing for a support person to accept, that your best friend, that your sister, that whoever it is, sister-in-law, whatever it is, even brother-in-law, whatever, brother, they're different now. And you can't force them to get back to normal. You have to help them navigate who they are now. Jeez, serious shit. I ended up deciding after probably about a couple of months, maybe 2 or 3 months. Let's see, how many is 6 weeks? No, maybe, yeah, about a month or two. I was like, damn, I'm so tired of word vomiting all over my mom and my sister and my husband. So I got a therapist and word vomited on my therapist, and I still do. She's the best. But I knew that it was starting to get to be a little too much for her and for them. And I felt like it was hindering my relationships, or it wasn't hindering, it was on the road to hindering. So I decided to not put that on them every day, all day, but only when I really needed to. So that was something that I realized when I was lifting from the grief fog. And that's really important, I think, to realize. So, and I have notes, that's what I'm looking at, old school. So I went to talk therapy. It's been wildly helpful, really helpful. Then realizing, that some people just have no self-awareness. That is like such a massive realization, like no self-awareness, meaning they aren't aware when they say and do things that are inappropriate or disrespectful or rude or unkind. They aren't aware of the phrasing or the behaviors or the attitudes or the expectations. Like, they can't even look inward and be like, damn, I should probably adjust the way I'm looking at this. It's pretty insanely, it's an insane realization and insanely frequent. You guys probably can imagine somebody saying, well, I also had a birth trauma. I also had some trauma. My labor was really, really rough. So I get it. And you're like, but your baby's living. Or, like, what's one about? Oh, you really haven't been around for me when I just had my new baby right around the time yours died. And I just don't understand how you could expect me to be here for you when you were never around for me. You have a living baby. You have a living baby. Those are the kind of things that, like, the lack of self-awareness, saying shit like, you really make it seem like I have it made. You just have such a bad story. People say this stuff, like, just have a little bit more like, oh my God, this doesn't sound right. Not say it, you know? I'm sure you guys can relate. It's always somebody too. And everyone's always like, my sister-in-law. Why is it always a sister-in-law? I don't know. Mine's great. She doesn't say anything. But I just don't, I'm sorry, guys, if people do that. It's not you, it's them. I had to make a decision to kind of fix my outlook. I knew that I didn't want to be angry my whole life. I knew I didn't want to be mad at people. So I had to kind of fix and process what my brain was doing. Now, I also made it very adamant, like it was very apparent to me that like Brody was my existence. Brody was my purpose. So even though he's dead, he still is my child. I still have a purpose to being his mother on earth, meaning talking about him, letting him teach me, letting him guide me, making focus on him and making him proud. So with that said, I had to say, okay, well, what kind of mom does he want? What kind of mom would he be proud of? I was clomping around being a dickhead to everybody. He'd be like, what are you doing, mom? So I had to say, no, I don't want people being like, Brody's mom is a big bitch. I don't, and I never wanted to walk away from his death with people like, wow, it altered her for the worst. And she's never recovered. She's still a big jerk. Like she's a jerk now. I decided I didn't want that. And as hard as it was, and still is, I tried to like always try to be a good person and try to be empathetic and sympathetic and all the things that this death has taught me. It's hard, but you have to make that decision. Bitterness, anger, wallowing, sorrow, darkness. Yeah, we have moments, but if you make that your entire existence and your entire being, that's no way to live. And that's definitely no way to honor your baby. That's just my opinion. But trying to get in that mindset has helped me learn thought distractions, therapies, trauma recovery, ways of helping myself, cleaning up my diet, walking, meditation, yoga, talking to people, things that I guess they're not like fixers, but they do help a little bit. They really do. So I had to make that decision to do that. You really start to look at intentions. Like, what are people's intentions? My sister was like, I intend to help. I know this is dark. I know this is heavy, but I'm going to help and I'm going to not give up on her. I'm just going to show up even when she tells me not to. And her intentions were to just be there to support me. Some people's intentions are very strange. You're like, I don't know what you intended to do with this. Are you trying to help me? Are you trying to like rub my face in something? Like, are you enjoying this? I know, isn't that sick? Like, I kind of thought about that a few times. Are you enjoying my pain? Ugh, what a terrible thought. But we have them. We have those thoughts, and we're sometimes not wrong. Because if people are jerks in life about everything, why would they not be a jerk about this? Some people just don't see it as horrific as we do. It's just another bad day, and they'll treat you like shit. So make sure you understand people's intentions. Like, we think that everybody who sends us a gift or a card or a call or a text or a message has good intentions, but sometimes they don't. And you have to be the one to decipher it. And I think what helped me was when I got something that was a little bit insensitive or I didn't like, I didn't really say that. I just kind of was like, it would be best if this happened instead. Their reaction to how you are acting and coping is your answer to what their intentions are. Okay. So you'd say, this is how I choose to grieve. This is what I would like. This is what would be helpful. You've given information, right? How they receive that information will tell you everything on what their intentions are going to be. People will tell you who they are in this whole situation. So she just said she was never going to give up on me, and she didn't. She just kept showing up. She called, she texted. Now that has kind of stopped a little bit. She still checks in, but it's not every minute of every day. It's not every hour of every day. It's not twice a day. It's not every day. It's every, you know what I'm saying? Like it just starts to get a little bit less. At the time of this recording, I'm a year out and from Birdie's birth. And she still checks in. But I will say for support people, just because we still look like we're doing good, we sound like we're doing good, and time has passed, time really has not passed for us. If you asked me, I was told Brody died and I gave birth to him last weekend. That's what it feels like. That's what it seems like. It's that vivid in my mind. And it's been almost exactly a year. So as support people, just realize that we're going through it every single day. We're still thinking about it. Holidays are rough. Birthdays are rough. Brody's first birthday is coming up. Rough day. Christmas was rough. Thanksgiving, rough. The whole first year is terrible. And even after the first year, there's still going to be moments that are going to be tough. But just ask, where are you at right now? Where are you at? That's it. Don't assume we're thriving. Don't assume we're devastated. Just ask us, where are you at? And shoot, I've talked about this before, addressing close friends and family and support people. Hey guys, I'm not okay today. This is what I'm going to need from you guys. And that's okay to do that. Because someone would be like, oh God, she's not over it yet. Who cares? Who cares? You have to be very open and honest with how you're feeling. Because guess what? You saying that to your family somewhere, another lost mom is saying it to theirs. I'm probably saying it. We all get each other, and it doesn't matter if the outsiders don't. We have to try to explain as best we can. If you have pushback from people, it's a whole nother thing that we talk about. It's pretty bad when people have pushback on how you want to handle this. But the closest people around you, your support people, should be able to adjust as you adjust through this life after loss. Okay. I know it's a lot, but if you're going to be close to somebody who this happened to, this is what happens, y'all. Unfortunately, we have lost relationships with people. And I say we, my sister and I, some family members we've lost closeness with, some friends kind of showed their own colors, and never was there a pressure like, I hate them, you should too. No, it was more of like, as an outsider, Kristina witnessed how people were acting towards us, and she was like, this is not okay. And she made the active decision of like, they're not my people anymore. And that's hard, and trying to fight for relationships, and these relationships are still not helping your sister out, like to her, she was like, okay, this is just too much. And then I had to cut out more people than she did, and she got it. She was like, okay, well, maybe you'll be back, but I totally get what you're doing. And this is just how she handled it again, she was there for me. She let me word vomit. She let me talk about it over and over again. She kept checking in. She didn't give up. She organized things for me. She helped me through things. It was just one of those, and she didn't judge like how I chose to do this. And that's just really important from support people. You're never going to be perfect. You're not going to say the right things all the time. You're probably going to say some stuff that does not land. And that's all right. We're not looking for perfection. We're just looking for support and to understand the magnitude of this. And she did. She knew that I was on an island all by myself, that no one could possibly understand what I was going through, especially someone like her who had 3 perfect pregnancies and 3 beautiful living babies with no problems. This was wild and out of nowhere. And I think it's really important for support people to understand that. Or if you don't understand it, that's fine. Just at least try to acknowledge it and respect it. It's serious. That's it, And just that goes so far. I have a lot of support people like, what do I say to somebody who did this? And what do I say to someone to do that? Honestly, the only thing you really have to say is, I'm so sorry this happened. I love you and your baby. I know this is going to be difficult, but I'm here with you on this journey. That's it. Like, it's great. Because so many people don't say that, and we want to avoid things like, at least you can have another one, or he's in a better place, or everything happens for a reason, or it wasn't meant to be. Like, let's not do that. Let's not do that. And don't push religion too soon. Just some things not to do. That's all. Just feel it out. Communicate. Communication is absolutely key. Kristina, was really good about communicating, like, hey, I'm coming over, whether you like it or not, kind of thing. There was a couple times I was like, no, you're not. I really just want to be alone. And I'm adamant about that. And she was like, okay, I respect that. And would just check in on me anyway. And I maybe snapped out of it and saw her like an hour or two later, but she picked me up to go get nails done. She picked me up to go get lunch. She picked me up to go get a coffee or to drive around with her while she did errands. She just distracted me. And that was really important, in the first days. Yeah, so that is her take on what it was like to be a support person. So if you haven't listened to the episode, I highly recommend you go listen to it. It's about an hour. And unfortunately, again, you can't see it, but I'll probably have her back on eventually and do one that has actual visual. But you can listen to it on YouTube, or you can listen to it on any of my platforms. Let me make sure, or platforms for podcasts. Let me make sure I didn't forget something. She is episode 7, so make sure you go check that one out. And I'm going to tag her Instagram so that you can message her if you have any questions. And of course, I like to interact with you guys. So if you want to leave a comment about your experiences or anything like that, I would love to answer any questions that you have or hear anything that you have to say. As long as we're kind in this space, we don't judge, and none of us judge each other. Just remember that. So stick around too, because I'm going to post the next podcast, episode 8, and the breakdown for that as well. This is just to help you guys out. Again, this is just my take, my experiences. I'm not a professional when it comes to this stuff. I'm just a mom trying to figure this out after the death of her baby. So thank you guys for being here. I'm so sorry that you have to be here, but I hope that this is helpful. Find me on Instagram. I'm super vocal there as well. And I hope to connect with you guys sometime soon. And I really hope this helps. Take care, Lost Moms.